So Avengers Infinity War comes out today, and it's a movie 10 years in the making, and it's so important that here in Australia, we have the day off. Like the calendar says, it's Avengers Day, April 25th, don't forget it. So before I go see Infinity War, I thought it'd be a good idea to rank all 18 Marvel movies and see how they stack up. And let's get started. Number 18, The Incredible Hulk. So The Incredible Hulk was just a bit miscast and misdirected, and essentially even Marvel right now doesn't really acknowledge it, especially since Bruce Banner is now played by Mark Ruffalo instead of Edward Norton. But even in saying that, it's not a horrendous movie, it's still a 5.5 out of 10, but once again, it is the lowest of the Marvel movies. Number 17, Iron Man 3. So Iron Man 3, I still like it as a movie, I just think it went in the exact wrong direction with the villain. The Mandarin was teased up in Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2, and they turned him into a joke in Iron Man 3, and I didn't really appreciate that plot twist. In saying that, like, the movie I would still give like a 6 out of 10. Like, besides that, like, I love Shane Black's directing and I love a lot of what goes on in the movie. It's just the build-up and disappointment that the villain was really let the movie down for me. Number 16, Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 is also not a great movie. That's probably another 6 out of 10. The issue that had was it was just trying to cram too much in, and it was trying to set up the entire Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D. Initiatives and all that. And it just kind of lost its main story, and we ended up with a pretty weak villain. We did get a cool end fight with where Tony and Rhodey are geared up in both suits and just pow 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 pow. But apart from that, overall the story is kind of weak. And yeah, it could have been better. Number 15, Thor: The Dark World. So Thor's second outing was not as good as his first outing. And essentially the main issues were just that there was a really weak villain, and overall the plot was a bit convoluted. Did have a few cool moments, like with Loki's death and the end fight sequence where they're kind of fighting through dimensions. That was a nice touch, but overall just like the entire Jane Foster storyline was eh. And besides that, there wasn't much else going on in the movie, and because that's the main reason that movie was a bit of a letdown. And even then I'd still give it maybe like a 6.2 out of 10. Number 14, Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange, when I watched it, I did like it quite a bit, and then as time kind of went on, it kind of became a bit unforgettable. The special effects were amazing, and acting all around was done quite well, but overall the plot was it was kind of basic, and the villain itself, especially the Dumaru at the end, it was like, yeah, it's a funny moment, but it's like, this guy's a destroyer of worlds, eater of galaxies, and we defeat him using wordplay and like trickery, and it's like, I wasn't buying the entire thing. In saying that, the movie's still like a 6.5. 6.5 out of 10, and like, it's still a fun watch, but it's just, I feel like it wasn't up to the caliber that Marvel has been at before. Number 13, Avengers: Age of Ultron. Where Avengers 1 succeeded, Avengers 2 just fell a bit flat. While the action was still amazing, the overall story was not up to par, and we essentially got a villain that was a bit underdeveloped and not as menacing as I thought it'd be. All the trailers portrayed him as this cold, calculated killer robot, and instead we got this essentially Tony Stark, except robot form, which, I mean, the movie like justifies, but it's not what we want. In saying that though, there are some good scenes, like when they try and lift Thor's hammer. Great scene for the characters, great scene overall. But the movie as a whole just wasn't the same, and I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Number 12, Ant-Man. So Ant-Man had a bit of issues going on behind the scene. Edgar Wright pretty much directed the entire movie and then left at the last minute because they wanted him to include the Falcon scene to tie in the movie. So that was a bit of an issue, and it was one of the lower performing movies for Marvel. But even in saying that, it was still quite good. Had some very nice comedic sequences and a few very interesting action scenes, especially at the end with the Thomas the Tank Engine fight. And in saying that, overall, like, it's one of the like more in the middle Marvel movies, and I'd probably give it about a 7.3 out of 10. Number 11, Captain America: The First Avenger. So Captain America First Avenger is probably Cap's weakest movie. Definitely Cap's weakest movie. But in saying that, it's still not a bad movie. It's still a 7.3 out of 10. The only issues were, even though it's one of the earlier superhero movies, it still felt a bit cliched. And Red Skull, while I found him pretty menacing and stuff, he was just a bit underused, and overall, he just felt a tiny bit flat, even though that's such a talented actor behind the mask. But in saying that, yeah, like I said, great movie. We got an introduction to Peggy Carter as well. Good characters. Just did not hit the absolute height that it possibly could have. Number 10, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, was like lightning in a bottle. The second movie was trying to recreate that, and while on many levels it managed to get close, it never quite hit the strides that the first one did. And in saying that, once again, amazing visuals, Groot was amazing, the entire crew was great, but there was just it almost felt like a bit of fatigue, but regardless, it was still a very good movie, and 7.8 out of 10, easily. Number 9, Thor. I really liked the first Thor movie. It was a story of family, and especially just Loki and how he constantly felt undermined by Thor. And I don't know, overall the movie worked. It was a bit simple, yeah, but in saying that, it was still a 7.8 out of 10. Well acted. We got our introduction to Chris Hemsworth, which is always, which we have been blessed with, let's be honest, fellow Australian. And overall, yeah, it was quite a nice movie and worked quite well. Number 8, Black Panther. So Black Panther is one of the newest Marvel superheroes to hit the big screen, and like my earlier review said, it's an 8 out of 10. Absolutely amazing movie, great villain, overall some good sequences, and it's just a good movie to enjoy. And especially with all the African culture that they integrated and the world of Wakanda, it's just one of those movies that kind of stays with you for quite a while, which honestly, to do this late in the game is quite impressive in itself. Number 7, Guardians of the Galaxy. The first Guardians of the Galaxy was unexpected. Nobody thought that just a man, a green alien chick, a raccoon, a tree, and an ex-wrestler would come together to make one of the best comedies and superhero movies of that year. And that was the first time I think everyone realized that Marvel knows what they're doing, and they have a track record that they want to maintain. They made an easy 8.2 out of 10 movie, and just it raked in so much money that I think it just shocked everyone. But turns out, if you make a good movie, it makes money. Genius. Number 6, Spider-Man Homecoming. So Spider-Man Homecoming is the 6th Spider-Man movie and the 3rd reboot of Spider-Man, and yet what Marvel did was, I thought it was genius. They stayed away from the entire cliched origin story side of things. They ignored a lot of, they didn't ignore, they lightly mentioned the Uncle Ben stuff, but they know you've seen it twice already and you don't need to do it. And instead, we got this much younger iteration of Peter Parker, very fun, very lovable, and it was just a nice, overall it was a smaller scale movie, and it works for that reason. And also Michael Keaton as the Vulture, amazing, great movie. Number 5, Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok is just amazing. One of my favorite directors put together with one of my favorite Marvel characters to create a movie that is just hilarious and still works overall. It's just great. Korg, amazing character. Loki, Thor, standard. The only issue I'd have with it is just maybe sometimes it takes the jokes, there are too many jokes that it takes away from a bit of more the seriousness and the emotional side of the movie. But on the whole, movie works great, and I'd give it an 8.4 out of 10. Love it. Number 4, Iron Man. Back in 2008, there was Iron Man, the movie that started it all. And honestly, it set the bar high from the get-go, which is why I guess Incredible Hulk really looks pale in comparison. But the first Iron Man movie is still one of the best Marvel movies, just because of character development, the villain, and just overall setting up a universe that at the time you did not know was being established. And it just works on so many levels, and just overall well directed, just well made film, and an easy 8.5 out of 10. Number 3, Avengers. So here in the top 3 is where things get messy and all the movies are so good that they could be interchanged with one another. But number 3 is for Avengers, the movie that showed us that you could put a few years of work, different characters, put them all together in one movie, and it would be amazing. And it worked. It made them over $1 billion, like $1.5 billion. It's crazy. And that's one of the big reasons you see DC, you see even like Fast and the Furious making like their own little universes. The Mummy universe, what was that? The Dark Universe that flopped hard. Everyone's trying to do a universe because the Avengers showed them that there was so much money and you could just make a good movie. Once again, it's that concept that turns out you make a good movie, you make a lot of money. If maybe Sony could learn that, Fox could maybe learn that with the new X-Men movies, but they don't. They try and recreate it and it just doesn't work. They all want to be Avengers, yet none of them can recapture that. And just about the movie itself, I mean, you brought together 5 big characters, you even had to replace the actor for Hulk, but it all worked, directed amazingly by Joss Whedon, and we just got a great movie. A great movie. For a rating, easy 9 out of 10, honestly. With the next 3 movies, the next 2 movies, it's 9 out of 10. Number 2, Captain America: Winter Soldier. Cap's second outing just upped the ante completely from his first outing and gave us a kind of like a spy espionage film that we didn't really expect, and it ended up being great. And essentially just became one of the best movies in the MCU. And just overall the way characters were handled and the reintroduction, I guess, of Bucky as the Winter Soldier, and the entire Hydra plot of them infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D., and it made you question a lot of the aspects of the universe. And the most amazing thing is that movie, like aspects of that movie, aspects of like the Hydra integration were hinted at previous movies. And that's one of the things I love about Marvel. It's just those little hints that they drop along the way. And then you see them all collect up later on and you're like, that makes sense. And they've been doing that from the beginning, and Cap 2 was just one of those products that just worked so well because of it. Number 1, Captain America: Civil War. Captain America: Civil War is the product of, like Infinity War is the product of 10 years of movies. This is the product of 9 years of movie. And it's the product of establishing all these characters and then bringing them together to fight against each other in a way in which you understand the arguments of both sides, so that like while you might be skewed towards Cap's view, you do understand where Tony Stark is coming from, and overall creates a quite balanced experience in that sense. Not only that, the movie, while having all these characters, manages to introduce to you 2 new characters with Black Panther and Spider-Man, and integrates them in the movie so well that you almost don't think it's their first movie each. And both actors do such a good job in their new roles that it all feels natural, and you feel like they have been a part of this universe since maybe close to the beginning. And well, that's one of the things that gets me excited for Infinity War, is now that we're going to get the Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff joining up, and just everyone is going to be there wailing on Thanos. I digress a bit, but Captain America: Civil War, best Marvel movie, 9 out of 10. Great cinema experience, just amazing airport battle action sequence, and a pretty interesting villain, and the way he kind of carries out his plan. While a bit unrealistic, it's a Marvel movie, who cares? It still works out well, and you finally see a more, I guess, tactical villain overall, instead of just brute force, and it works really well. It just works so well. Let me know how you rank your Marvel movies, and if you like this video, feel free to subscribe for future videos. There'll definitely be an Infinity War review. Right now I'm thinking of doing a spoiler-free review and then a spoiler review. I will see the movie tonight, very excited for that. So maybe, I reckon tomorrow could see an Infinity War spoiler-free review right here. So subscribe for that so you don't miss out. See ya.